Hello, you guys. Welcome to this week's episode of the Expand and Evolve podcast. I'm your host, Carly Pinchin, and I'm recording this very last minute. I'm going to post it probably right away. I recorded an episode last week, and for some reason, the guest speaker, sorry, I just ran up the stairs. The guest speaker, her portion didn't record. So anyways, I went to upload that today or like yesterday, and it would not work. So I was like, what could I talk about this week that's like really on my heart and something that I feel like will resonate? And I wanted to bring you guys health or business or something different than relationships. But like for me personally right now, I would say this is one of the most important pieces I'm currently creating, cultivating, and calling into my life. And I think that's also why I've been talking about relationships so much. And obviously, when I first started this podcast, it was very much like it was going to be business and it was going to be health and it was going to be relationships and it was going to be all pieces. But this phase of my life is so heavily focused around relationships that I feel like that's the thing that I'm constantly kind of moving through, learning about in my day to day. And so I wanted to create an episode that was just 4 things that I'm doing. It might go more than 4, but 4 key things that I'm doing to call in my dream partner and like call in the person that I want to build a partnership with in my life. And I think if you guys have been following along for a while, like I've talked about this before, but creating this sacred union, like this union between 2 people, I am feeling it more than ever. Like this pull, that part of my mission in this life is to not only cultivate and create this sacred union for myself and like create this partnership for myself, but more so to create it to help show others how to do the same thing. And I've said this before, like I'm not one who, obviously I'm going through separation, divorce, whatever, but I'm not someone who is pro separation and divorce. Honestly, if 2 people have chosen each other and love each other and have a foundation together and they want to build a life together, I am way more pro build that life together and do the work together to come together, because ultimately every single relationship is going to bring up triggers. There's going to be traumas. There's going to be past relationship stuff. There's going to be childhood stuff. There's going to be so many different things that come together when 2 people choose to build a partnership together. And my explanation, like understanding, I guess you could say, of like the relationship that I want to cultivate and like a sacred union would be 2 people choosing each other, that they're like, no, I'm choosing you and I want to do this work with you. And I'm willing to evolve, expand, and grow. And like the common denominator in that relationship is the commitment to their growth. And because you're committed to growing, you're committed to evolving, you're committed to changing, you're committed to becoming the best possible version of you. I feel if you have the self-awareness and the ability to self-reflect, and 2 conscious people come together to build a partnership and like cultivate it based on true heart-centered love, like that is a sacred union. And that's the relationship I want to call in. And so I wanted to just share 4 things that I've been doing that I feel are helping me do this. You guys obviously know I started dating in January of this year. It's going to be May. So 5 months of dating, you could say, like talking to people, being open, like having dating apps, like just putting myself out there to be open. And so the first thing I'm going to say is you need to be willing to be open to dating. I don't think anyone wants to date. They're not like, oh my gosh, I just can't wait to date random strangers. And like, that's not fun. And I think like there's people who are married and will be like, oh my gosh, the dating pool. Like, you know how you hear like the dating pool is so terrible? First of all, I also just want to say like your mindset on that, you've got to shift it. If you think that everyone out there is shitty, you're going to attract shit. So like the first thing you need to see is like, there's a lot of amazing people out there. I'm an amazing person. I know my value. I know my worth. I know what I bring to a relationship. I know that the person that I end up being with, their life is only going to improve if they've made the conscious choice that they want to evolve, change, and grow. I am going to be a catalyst to them living their most amazing life. I know this. I know the value that I bring to a relationship because of who I am and how I operate. So I know that. I'm single. Okay. So like I choose to believe a story that there's men out there who also had surface level relationships and relationships with people who it wasn't fulfilling enough. It didn't have the depth that they wanted. It wasn't allowing them to create this intimacy. The women hadn't gone through and healed their shit. And so even though they were evolving, changing, and growing, the women weren't, and it was holding them back. And so I choose to believe that there's men out there who are just like me, looking for a partnership like the partnership I'm looking for? And is there a lot of people who are unconscious and still really wounded and like looking for the wrong type of relationships? Yeah, of course. Because it's like a minute percent of the population. I've also snapped a nail yesterday on the plane. But it's such a small percentage of people who are really, really diving into this growth and this work. But I'm like, I'm rare, and so is my husband, you know, like that's just what I choose to believe. So you first one is put yourself out there and allow yourself to be open to dating, whatever that looks like for you. I don't really use dating apps. I have them on my phone. I have a profile because for me, I'm like, I'm creating the energetic space that I am open to it. But I have my Instagram linked, so it's like if you really want to talk to me, message me on Instagram. Because I'm like, I'm not checking dating apps all the time, you know, like I don't want to go down the scroll hole and I don't want to always be swiping through. And so I don't choose to use a lot of my energy there. But there was a season where I was putting energy into that. And like I've met some really awesome people from those apps. So be mindful to just like put yourself out there. I feel like that's step number one. You need to create space for it. Another thing that you can do to create space is I have space in my closet right now where his stuff could have been. I have a drawer that's empty where like my husband's stuff used to be. And I've kept it empty because I want to create space that like I'm open to having someone enter my life. Does this make sense? So like little baby things that you can do to remain open and have space to have someone come into your life. I feel like that's really important. So putting yourself out there, you need to be willing to date. There was a season like last December, there was a bunch of guys I had met on Hinge in Austin, and I was like, could have met them all, but like something in me was like I just didn't feel like it was the right time. And so I didn't actually go on any dates. And like, that's okay when you're not ready and you're not in that space yet where you really want to date. Like, I think that's okay. But eventually you've got to put yourself out there. And so I've gone on a couple dates. I put myself out there. I obviously recorded an episode about the last time I was in Austin and all of the dates that I went on. And I'm just willing to put myself out there and open my heart. So even right now, for example, like I just went back to Austin and I hung out with a guy for a few days. And because I'm like, you have to be willing to put yourself out there. And how am I going to know if someone is meant for me or like it's my person unless I'm willing to get to know them? And so just be open and willing, despite if you think they're your husband or not, like be willing to go meet people, get to know them, open your heart to what it could be without an attachment of how they're going to play a role in your life. So this is something that I was really mindful of. It's like, technically anyone you meet, like that could be your future husband or it could not. And don't get so hung up on like, what is this going to be? What is this relationship going to be? Is this going to be a relationship? Is this going to be my husband? Like, don't think too far in the future. Just take it for what it is right now and appreciate what it is right now and observe. Like, become an observer in your dating life of just observing the person rather than projecting this like image. Like, I have this dream relationship in my mind, right? I have a dream of what that relationship could be. I see that for my future, but I'm being really mindful not to project the relationship I know I want onto a person that relationship does not exist with yet. Does this make sense? So like, be really mindful that you're not projecting the relationship you want to create onto this person that it's not actually a real thing with yet. So anyways, just be mindful of that. The next thing I was going to say is, I'm going to make this one a short and sweet one, is I listen to love songs. So like even though I'm not in love, I cultivate the feeling of what it feels like to be in love. This is something too, when you're in your feminine energy, like it's all about feeling. So it's like, how do you want to feel? How can you call in and pull in more of the way that you want to feel into your life and your field now, despite your current circumstances? So it's like, you could do this in anything, right? Like, you want to feel peace in your home. Okay, how can you make that feeling of peace happen more in your home, even if your house is not peaceful? How in a relationship, like, you know that you want to feel in love, you know those feelings you want to have, you know those super strong connections you want to have. How can you cultivate that feeling in you right now so that you're vibrating at that frequency and you have the space and you know what that feeling feels like within your body, so that when it happens in real life, you're already like a resonance, I don't know if that's the right word, and an energetic match for that frequency because you're cultivating it in your body. Does this make sense? So it's like, I listen to, there's this new artist, I don't know how you say his name, like Shannon, I don't know. I think that's what it is. Anyways, there's like 3 songs. I can link them in the show notes, but like, it's called Soulmate, One and Only. I just sent them to my friends. Soulmate, One and Only. Let me see what they're called. Where are they? Soulmate, One and Only, and More Than Life. these songs are so lovey and good. And then I also, these are like Instagram artists I discovered. Okay. Sorry. And then this other artist called Nico. They have a bunch of love songs too that are so lovey and cute. And then like country love songs. So I'm playing a lot of, oh my God, something's stuck in my throat. Love songs, because I'm like, even though I'm not in love right now with anybody, I want to cultivate that feeling and keep that frequency and that resonance within my body of honing in on that feeling, because that's the feeling that I'm chasing. And that's the feeling I want to attract. So the same way that you could think about this in business, like you want to feel abundant, you want to feel wealthy, you want to feel blessed. Like how can you cultivate that feeling? What does that feel like in your body before you physically have it in the present? And so I'm just taking the same things that I did in my health. Oh my gosh. What the heck? The same things that I'm doing that I would have done to cultivate abundance in my life, right? You get clear on your vision. You get clear on what you want in your life. You write it down. You write down how much money you want to make. You write down what it's going to feel like. You write down what that money's going to do for you. You write down, like, what does it feel like? Do you have peace? Do you have joy? Do you feel less stress? Like you cultivate and imagine the feelings and how it's going to look, feel, what you're going to have through building wealth or building abundance or having abundance in your life, right? You cultivate that through feeling and getting clear. So I've done that in terms of like what I want my health to look like, or what I want my business to look like, or what I want my home to look like, or whatever, like anything that I wanted to call into my life through vision, I do those acts with. And so right now my main focus is relationships. And I'm using those same principles on cultivating this relationship through taking actions like this. And one of those major things is feeling. How does it feel within your body? Cultivate that. So like I'm listening to love songs all the time. I'm feeling that feeling of being in love before I'm physically in love with another. And I also think on that, like something that's been really helpful, you guys, is I finally feel so much love within myself and so much like I know my worth and my value and what I bring to the man who's going to end up being in a relationship with me, that I am not willing to waver on that for anyone or anything. And the peace that I feel within me and the love that I feel within me, I'm not willing to like down. I don't know how to explain it. It's like, because I know that feeling within me, no matter what person comes into my life, like I'm not willing to shapeshift for, because I'm like, once you get to know me, you're gonna like, I was saying it to this guy, I was like, when you fully know me, you're gonna fall in love. And so I'm like, when you have that belief within you that like the more you get to know me, the more you're gonna fall in love. I don't know how to articulate this really, except for the fact that like I didn't used to have self-love. I didn't used to have true self-worth. Like I really struggled with that when I got into my marriage. I didn't have that baseline. And so what do you end up attracting? If you're putting on this like, look, I'm so cute and I'm pretty and I'm like, look at the outside of me and like these things on the outside, and you're afraid to really be seen because maybe you don't feel like you're deserving or worthy of love deep, 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 deep down. This isn't like a conscious choice. This is like a subconscious thing. If you don't feel like you're truly deserving of love, like that's going to impact how you feel about yourself, the frequency you operate at, and the things that you're willing to accept into your life. Where right now I'm at a place where so many people feel like, oh my gosh, if they really knew me, they wouldn't love me. I need to put on this mask and I need to project this version of me because that's who people love. I feel like the angle of this camera is a little bit funny right now. Where I'm the opposite. I'm like, the more you get to know me, the more you're going to love me. I know that like through and through. And so it's like, can you get to a place where you know that so clearly about yourself and you love yourself so much that like I can cultivate this feeling of being in love and like love the feeling within my body. It's almost like being in love with yourself. Like I can be in love and feel love within my body and like resonate with it and feel the frequency of it. And I don't need another human being to project that love onto. Like I can feel that feeling of love within me and like have the fun of feeling in love within me just through like listening to music and doing things like that. Does that make sense? So it's like, how can you cultivate more of a feeling of that feeling of being in love into your life? And something I've been doing to do that is calling it in through music and listening to music that makes me feel in love. I love the lyrics. It's like, this is exactly how I'm going to feel about my future husband. Like I also like speak to him like he already exists. So I think I said this in that mushroom journey episode where like he was in there and I was like, I need you to come find me. Like I'm ready for you now. And he was like, I've been here the whole time. And I was like, no, like I need you physically here. Like you might be here, you might already exist in a different timeline, but like I need you here with me now, like in my real life. So come find me. And he was like, okay, well. And so not to get into timelines and things like that, but I'm like, I already know this feeling of what our relationship is going to feel like and how amazing it's going to be, that I am like kind of living in that feeling, even though he's not here. Does that make sense? So it's like, even though the relationship doesn't exist yet and we're not in partnership yet, like I'm cultivating that feeling already within me to create space for when he does come and for me to know what that's going to feel like. And so what I would say is like the love songs, what else did I say to start? Ensuring that you're open to dating, right? Like be open, be willing to talk to people, be willing to get to know people, be willing to go on dates, be willing to put yourself out there, be willing to put your heart out there. Like you have to be willing to do that. And then the next thing that I've been doing, I've already talked about this too, like your PPV list, you guys, is so critically important. I wrote mine last May. And then I recorded an episode in the fall and I re-listened to it because I was like, this is crazy, because the guy that I'm kind of like talking to, seeing, I guess you could say, I even said to him, I was like, dude, this is nuts. Like I wrote this a year ago and you hit every single thing I wrote on my personalities list. And like, despite like, I don't have a projection of like, are you my husband or not? It's more like, when you get this clear, you're only going to call in this level of person, this type of person into your life. So because I've gotten really clear on like what I want and the type of person I want and the relationship that I want, I'm attracting people into my life who match that thing. Does this make sense? So it's like when I wrote this last May, it was like at the end of like a situationship that I knew like was not going to be helpful or like productive. It was like there was someone I was kind of talking to and I was like I already know energetically like this isn't right, and like me not getting clear was because I didn't want to admit to myself that like he was definitely not a good option for me. And so I basically wrote it in May to get really crystal clear and be like, okay, you got to face this. Like, if you want to call in this partnership that you truly want, like you need to be willing to let go of the people in your life right now who aren't that person. And so I wrote this list. I wrote all the personalities, the presence, the values. And this is something that I feel like people put off because they're so afraid of making the realization that like maybe your current partner is not it. Maybe the guys you're talking to is not it. Maybe you're afraid to really admit what you really want. Like whatever the reason is, I'm just telling you, stop putting it off and actually do it, because despite whoever, like whatever happens in this, like the people that I'm talking to right now, right? It doesn't really matter, because all it matters is like I'm calling in such a more clear version of what I want. And I'm getting closer, if it's not him, like to my future husband. So I'm so unattached to the outcome, because it's like I already know and feel this relationship that I'm creating, that I don't need to get attached to the person. It's like, no, like you might be it, you might not. I have the faith that my husband is my husband and it's going to be amazing and beautiful. So it's like, I don't need to get attached to these people that could just be pieces to the puzzle that are like bringing me closer, you know, like, and so I think getting really clear on like, you have to have such strong faith that that person is meant for you and it's right for you. And like, if you want this relationship to last forever, I am not willing to settle on literally anything, because I'm like, I don't want to go through another divorce and I don't want to go through an unfulfilled relationship ever again. Like I want it to be this beautiful, amazing relationship that I know is possible. And so me settling or shape-shifting or like changing my list to fit some person just because I want a relationship is not going to work. So it's like, you have to get so clear on what you want, and not out of like, I need him to have a 1-inch mustache and I need him to like, all of that shit you can write down. But like, those are not the things that I feel are the most important. The things that I feel are the most important are like core characteristics, their values, their mission in life. Like, what do they want to create? Like, what is their mission? What are their values? What are their values in life and their characteristics that make them who they are? Because it's like, you need those foundations of characteristics so much more. Obviously, attraction, all of that is important, and you can write that stuff down. And like, even on that level, like there's only one thing about presence that he's not hitting, and it was like a height difference of like 1 inch. So I'm like, even that, like, it's silly, but it's so close. And so I showed him this because I was like, this is so powerful, how when you get crystal clear, it's all you're going to bring in. And I've talked about this before, but you could utilize this list even on like, what are the types of clients you want to attract into your life? What are the types of relationships you want to build with friends? What are the type of relationships you want to build with people to build businesses with, or like the business you want to create, or the home you want to call in? Like, you can utilize this same type of setup as like a personality, presence, and values list for a person in your business, in your life, in so many different areas. And so it's like getting clear on this. Just trust me, it is so freaking worth it when you're thinking about calling in a future partner. Like, why would you mess with or like waste your time on anything that is not that? Right. And like, it's allowing me to reflect on it now because I just did it for fun. After we've been talking for a bit, I was like, I'm so interested. Like, are you hitting the stuff that I wrote? Because I hadn't read this in over a year. Right. And I looked back on it and I went, this is nuts. Like, you have all of these qualities. This is freaking crazy because it's just, again, it's just showing me that like when you get clear, the universe, God, whatever, is going to provide you with exactly what you asked for, especially when it's for your highest good. Right. Like, because if it's for your highest good, it's for the highest good of all. And for me right now, it's like, obviously if what I'm writing down and I'm conscious and I'm clear and I'm not doing it out of a place of ego, like I'm doing this out of a heart-centered, higher place self, like, higher version of me, to create this relationship that's going to help relationships. And like, honestly, I believe, and I've talked about this before, you create true sacred union and love between partnerships, you can heal this freaking planet. And so I know that. And so it's like, my list is coming from that place because it's like, I want to cultivate that and it's going to help others. Like, it's going to serve the world. So it's like, you need to do it if it's from a place of ego, like, I want him to have money so he can fly me on a private jet. Like, no. But if your reason for wanting him to be an energetic match for you financially is so that you can, I don't know, match each other in life, because I just feel like with money, it's such an interesting concept. But like, if you haven't mastered money, there's things within you that you haven't mastered yet. And I think that is just true, beyond true, beyond true. And so it's like, I don't necessarily need you to make the same amount of money as me, but I need to know that you know how to make money, because it's like, that's a skill set that is crucial to know that like you've kind of mastered your own mindset. Does that make sense? So like, just little things like that. So anyways, I have an episode, my PPV list, where I go through all of it. I've written it down. And so it's like, have the list so that you can always look back on it and then start kind of rating these guys that you end up dating. Like, as you get to know them, obviously not on a first date, you need to actually get to know them, talk to them, date them, all the things. But it's like, as you get to know them, are they hitting an 8, 9, 10 or above in these categories? And if they're not, like, what are you willing to settle on, or are you willing to settle at all? And I'm not. And so like, there's pieces of it that he doesn't necessarily match yet, where I'm like, you either will grow into this, or like, I'll see this from you over time, or you won't, but I'm not willing to settle. Like, I'm looking for this like beautiful, amazing relationship. And for the sake of attachment, I'm not willing to settle on it. Does this make sense? So it's like, you need to get to a place where you're so secure within you, you're not willing to throw everything that matters to you out the window for a little bit of love. And I was talking about this with one of my friends yesterday, because I was like, honestly, the bar was set in hell. Like I didn't even have a standard or a bar. It was like, oh my God, I feel love. And I'm like, I'm a loving person. I can feel love for pretty much anyone. So anyone that gives me an ounce of breadcrumb of love, I'm just going to go love you. Like, no, I'll give you and I'll show you love, but I'm not willing to like throw my life into a relationship for that anymore. And I was just saying, I'm like, how sad that like someone's willing to hug us, kiss us, and cuddle us, and we're like, oh my God, I'm so in love. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, every human being on this planet is capable of hugging, loving, and kissing and like having sex. So it's like, if that's where our bar is, like, we're not going to feel fulfilled. It's like that type of stuff, like the hugging, kissing, all of that's amazing. And obviously that feels good. And like the connection and all of the intimacy, that feels good. But the characteristics that are going to build, like, how do you fight together? How do you move through conflict? How does he handle stress? What type of values does he have? Like, is family at the forefront? Is building a monogamous relationship at the forefront? Like, what, like, do you struggle with vaping and porn and like all this stuff? Like, what are you willing to, you need to get clear. Otherwise you're going to attract shit into your life. And then the second they give you a little bit of energy or attention, you're like, oh my God, I feel love. And it's like, you need to have something to come back to that's a little bit logical, I feel, for you to bring yourself back to a very grounded state of, you're good, you are held all on your own. You don't need this other person. You're looking to choose someone you want to do love with. Don't do it out of the emotional reaction of like, oh my God, I feel so loved because I'm like hugging somebody. No. Does this make sense? I hope this is making sense. Because I think if the old me would have been like, oh my gosh, this feels so good, so it means I love you. And it's like, yeah, but I can fall in love with, I'm a loving person. I can fall in love with lots of people. Does it make sense based on who we are to build a lifelong relationship together? That is a different choosing than like just falling in love. Does this make sense? So, Okay, I hope that's helpful. Anyway, so your PPV list. So just as a recap, and then I'll tell you the last thing. So love songs to put you in the energetic frequency. Just anything that makes you feel love or in love or the frequency of love. Do more of that. Ensuring you're opening yourself up to dating. So like put yourself out there, whether that's dating apps, whether it's saying yes to dates, even though you're not sure. Like just put yourself out there. Your PPV list, super important. And then the last thing is I have written letters to my future husband. I write to him. I kind of mentioned this earlier. Like I speak to him sometimes as if he's already here and as if he already knows me. And I will tell him what I need and like I'll say it out loud. So whether you see this as like praying or speaking with God or your angels or your spirit guides, like whatever you see it as, or like truly speaking with your husband. I did a session with Seema. She's an awesome intuitive. And she had said to me, like, he's so close, start talking to him. And I was like, okay. And so I feel that because I was like, even before she said that, like I feel it. I can feel his presence. I feel what our relationship feels like. And so I talk to him as if he's already here. And I have this such a strong faith within me that doesn't allow, like, it doesn't make me, I don't know how to say this, like, because I know he's right here, I have nothing to worry about. I don't have a worry of like, am I going to end up single forever? Is there ever going to be a good guy? Is there ever going to be little? It's like, no, he's already like getting ready and finding me and he's doing the work. And so am I. And we're going to find each other at the perfect time, exactly when we need to, exactly when we've moved through everything else that we need to move through in order to be together. So I speak to him as if he's already there and I speak in present tense. So like I speak as if it's already happened. So the letters that I've written, I've done a few and I'll just write freely, like everything I'm feeling in the moment. For example, when I was feeling really heavily emotional and like sad and just like this longing feeling of like wanting this relationship so bad, even though it's not here yet, I wrote a letter to him talking about how it felt and like how it's going to feel when it like he's like holding me and just speaking to it in that sense. And then yesterday I wrote on the plane home a letter to my future husband again, talking about our relationship and how it feels. And I'm like, I wonder if I can pause this because I kind of feel like reading it to you guys. I feel like it might be helpful. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to cut this out after. I guess I'll edit it. But I'm going to go get the letter and I'm going to read it out loud because I think there's power in speaking it. It's also very vulnerable. Obviously, I don't even remember what I wrote. But I think there's power in speaking what you want out loud. And I want you guys to have an example of like that forward speaking tense of like speaking as if it's already happened. Not like I hope and I wish, like none of that. It's like this is real fact already happened. And I'm creating this conversation and communication with him now before we cultivate that relationship. Does this make sense? So it's like no matter who, I guess this is a really big point too. I'm going to grab the letter and then we'll finish the podcast. But no matter who I'm seeing and I'm dating, I am holding true to the vision I have in this future partnership, despite them, despite where we are at right now, despite where our relationship is going. My commitment to this future version relationship is still strong. And I'm not inserting his name or any of these guys in it. It's like, it could be them, it could not. And I have surrendered completely to trying to control the outcome. If it's supposed to be them, it will be. There's nothing I could do to change that. And if it's not meant to them, it's never going to be them. So like, there's no need for me to get wildly attached and like try to create something out of something that it might not be when like the perfect thing is going to happen for me at the perfect time. Does this make sense? Okay, I'm grabbing the letter. I'm going to read it to you really quick and then we're good. Okay, hold on. Okay, thank you. Thank you for doing it. Okay, hi, I'm back. So I also have this vision, you guys, that I'm in there's something with Costa Rica that plays an important role in our relationship. And I have this vision. I don't know if it's Costa Rica because I was in Texas this weekend and I'm like looking at where we were. I was like, oh, like interesting how it almost gives jungly vibes. So I'm like, but I have this pull that it's going to be Costa Rica where I'm going to end up getting married. And I like have the clearest vision. It could almost make me cry like this is how clear my vision is, you guys. Like I can feel it somatically through my whole body what this moment feels like. And I'm watching, I can see like a bunch of my friends and I can see them and like it's our wedding day and they're dancing and like his friends are dancing and everyone is having so much fun. And it just feels so good and so right and so aligned. And I can feel that. And it's like, I feel it in, I don't know, there's going to be some role of Costa Rica, I feel like. And I don't know, we end up getting married there or something. Anyway, so I wrote this letter sitting on the plane yesterday. I don't even know. Anyways, I'm going to read it to you, okay? This is very vulnerable. It makes me want to die a little bit, especially knowing that this goes on the internet and like anyone can listen to it and watch it. But I'm going to read it to you, okay? So, it's the summer of 2025. I'm sitting in my partner's arms, cuddled up, feeling safer and more seen, held, and witnessed than ever before. It feels like peace, and we both know we have each other's back. With the utmost respect and deep, profound love for each other. Us connecting has supercharged the abundance in our lives, and our vision and mission for life and growth together is so aligned. We know our mission and purpose in life is meant to be worked out together. I'm his peace, love, and safe space, and he's mine. We know we're meant to do life together and have devoted ourselves to that of choosing to love, respect, honor, and build a life together. He knows I love him through his flaws because I don't judge. I just want to support him on his journey to unlocking his truest state of being, and he's committed to mine. Continually working to drop the walls and something barriers that have pushed away love in the past. We're committed to building the most beautiful life together, and we want the finer things in life. He is committed to giving me the world and wants me to be loved, adored, protected because he knows he never had that before. I think that means like to be able to give me that. I don't know. He values, loves, and respects me and understands I'm the most worthy and valued thing in his life because with me, he knows I'll always have his back and be able to help him achieve all of his hopes, goals, and dreams, and will always hold it down for him at home. He understands how keeping me emotionally, mentally, sexually satisfied keeps me the most in tune and the most powerful. And so he's committed to that because he understands that the more aligned I am, the more powerful I am, and the better mental state that I'm in to support him. So like, I'm just going to pause here for a second. This is so important because a man who truly understands the power of a woman is going to understand that like him prioritizing my needs aside from his mission in life will allow me to be in the best and most aligned, clear space to like, whether you think of it as like downloads of information or like your intuitive knowing, like it will allow me to be the best version of me and the most powerful version of me to help him. Does this make sense? So like, that's what I'm meaning with that. He worships my body and knows I'm the most prized possession to him in his life. He truly sees me for me and my value and will protect me at all costs to ensure I'm safe, loved, and taken care of. He is firm with others, but soft with me. So meaning like I wrote this down too, like I want him to be magnetic and powerful. So in the sense of like, I need him to be so firm and powerful in like life, but knows he can like completely soften with me and he's safe in that. And like, I'll never put him down for like showing me his, like knowing that he's safe to show me his heart. He feels safe to fully open and be honest, vulnerable, and knows it is safe to express himself fully with me. He let me in like no one he ever has before. We're committed to cultivating the best sex and making sure both our needs are met. He loves my babies like his own and shows up as the healthiest male role model they've ever had. That one almost made me cry. Whoa. Okay. Our relationship supports our highest calling in our lives and the work we're meant to be doing together to make this planet a better place. I'm open to being pulled to wherever I'm meant to be, whether it's Canada, Nashville, Texas, anywhere in the States, Costa Rica, or wherever it's needed to build this life I'm destined for. And I'm open and I'm open to the partner God has called to my life to cultivate a beautiful, sacred union while helping show others what's possible for their lives too. I know our partnership is meant to serve as an example for others and how beautiful the partnership and relationship can be. Thank you to my guides for helping me to call this love and my husband and for giving me the strength to surrender to keeping detached so that I can let go of what doesn't serve me and while creating space for what is truly destined and meant for me. To my future husband, thank you for being committed to the work I love you and I'm so grateful for you and the commitment you have to yourself, your wife. Is that cute? Anyways, so it's like I will write like this. There is so much power in putting pen to paper and calling in what you want. And I think you guys can probably see through that. Like that wasn't necessarily specific to a person. It was like a vision for what we're creating, feelings that we're going to have. I also wrote in there a lot about the respect and way I'm going to be, not just about me. Like I really want to call in a partner that like I have the utmost respect for him. And like this is something that I was going to say. You need to see men as the beautiful people that they are. Like if you want to call in a beautiful relationship, you cannot continue to talk about the fact that like men are dogs, they're all cheaters, they're all this, they're all that. Like you can't speak like that and expect to be like have this beautiful man come into your life. And the way I see it is like every man was a mom's baby boy. I have 2 babies. They are beautiful, amazing, loving by nature, caring human beings. Those are our men. Our men in this world were those boys. Oh my gosh. Um, and it's so important to see them like that. So it's like when I see these men, I see the little boy, and like this is also the hard part of being someone that's like so intuitive and like a healer, and like you're able to see this in people, because I just want to love every single one of them because I can feel the love that they're missing and needing within their heart. And it's hard for me to not want to be that person, right? Like I want to just be able to give them all of that love and show them how valuable they are and how amazing they are and how much they deserve everything and how powerful and capable and like all of that. Like I have so much belief for people. And so for me to not necessarily project that onto another person, but I see men like that. The men I go on dates with, I see with like already so much love and like appreciation for them as people. So just to keep that in mind, that like see men in such a beautiful light, the same way, especially if you're a boy mom, you guys, the same way that you look at your baby boys and you know how incredible they are and how much grace you give them when they mess up or they get angry, like be understanding, be empathetic, give them the space, like understand people are not perfect. Hold them to a standard of like the way you deserve to be treated. You can have boundaries, right? But be willing to just see men as beautiful too. And I feel like the experiences you have will be so different when you come from that space. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you guys for listening, and thanks for coming to this week's episode. I feel like I continue to get closer and closer and closer to this. Like I wrote summer of 2025, you guys. Like I just know it's coming. And so until then, it's like I'm staying committed to myself, and just not losing yourself the minute someone comes into your life. So it's like